Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first year experience presentation. And my name is Brett Hulse, and you will see my face shortly. I'm going to get through my presentation pretty quickly here. It takes about 20 minutes to go through the presentation, so not too quickly. Hopefully, answer a lot of your questions about living on campus as a first year student. We'll be talking a little bit about housing on campus, dining on campus, and the living learning communities on campus. So we'll go with some brief details about those things. And I will be answering questions at the end of this as well. So as you have questions, do not hesitate to add them to the Q&A section here on BlueJeans, and I'll be addressing them after the presentation. So once again, about 20, 25 minutes to get through the presentation, and then I will be answering your questions. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I haven't done one of these in a while, so forgive me if I overshoot a slide or something like that, but I think we're good to go. So what is the first year experience? So the first year experience was started back in 1992. It was a way for us to increase the retention rate from first to second year. Back in those days, back in the mid 80s, we had about 85% of our first year students would become second year students at Georgia Tech. And we knew we could do better than that. So we did a few things to make sure that our students were feeling both connected academically and socially to the institute. So we did that along with the class that is now known as GT 1000, which is the first year seminar. And both of those things together have helped increase our retention rate to 97% of our first year students becoming second year. A really great number. And we're pretty excited about that. And we work really hard to make sure that our students do feel like Georgia Tech is a place that they can succeed. That is the whole purpose of living on campus at Georgia Tech. So some of the ways we do that is we have our students who choose to live on campus as first years live together in community. So our first year students live with other first year students, and they live together in traditional style halls. Those are the long hallways with two-person rooms generally. So you have a roommate, kitchen, and bathrooms down the hall. So you're sharing all of your community spaces. Now, some people think, oh, I don't know if I'd like that, but here's the deal. It does help you get to know folks really quickly. And you're going through the same stuff. You're going taking your first midterms together. You're going home for the holidays together. You're experiencing homecoming together. You're going to your first football game together. All those type of things with a community of folks doing the same thing. It helps us meet your needs, and it also helps you build a community as well. So that is one of the reasons we have folks living together. For students who are living on campus, we also require a meal plan, and we want students to have access to food whenever they need it, to make sure their nutrition is being met, have a place to gather socially and things like that. And so that is why a meal plan is required as well if you're living with us on campus. Also, we help to build community with our student staff. Most schools have resident assistants, RAs. We do as well. In our first year housing, we have more RAs than we do in our upper class housing. So in our first year experience, we have about one RA for about every 25 students. In our upper class housing, it's about 1 to 40 students. But we really want our RAs to be there to make sure that resources are being provided, that folks who need, who want to do something fun, have resources to make sure there's programming going on. If you're feeling homesick, we can get you connected to a counseling center, things like that. If you need tutoring, we can get you connected to tutors. Whatever the issue is, if you're having trouble with your roommate, we can help mediate a conversation between you and your roommate. That's why RAs are around. They're there also for safety and security. They make sure the buildings are secure at night when our offices are closed. And so they are a great point of contact for all of our residents. And we make sure there's more of them in the first year experience than there are in other buildings as well, so while our students are figuring out what Georgia Tech is all about. So I mentioned that our retention rate is 97% now, but also I think it's important to note that we do not require students to live on campus. You are not required to have, there's no first year living requirement. If you choose to live off campus your first year, that is up to you to do that. However, 97% of our students who come to Georgia Tech have opted into the first year experience by living on campus. So we're really proud of that number as well. So I said that we don't require housing, but we also don't guarantee housing. So as we talk a little bit about applying for housing at Georgia Tech, we'll talk about how that works, because we do tend to open with a wait list as well. We can't provide housing to everyone who wants to live with us on campus. And so it is important, if you want to come to Georgia Tech and you want to live in housing, that you apply early so that we can make sure we have a space for you. So what to expect in the first year experience. So we have a dedicated staff. I've already mentioned the RAs, but we also have professional staff who live on campus as well. So we have full-time hall directors. There's about 20 of them that are on campus. They live in the halls as well. They're master's level professionals who are there to supervise the RAs, but also to make sure that things are going well in the building and to handle issues that are arising. There are hall directors on campus 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the entire year. We also have the Dean of Students office, the counseling center, our maintenance staff who are on call 24 hours a day. So if there's a counseling center as well, if I didn't mention them before, that are there to handle emergencies that might happen overnight. We also have our police on campus who can help us with instances that come up, emergency situations that happen in the buildings as well. So we have a great support network on campus. And so all of those folks are around. It's important to know that Georgia Tech does not close over breaks during the academic year. So in December, when a lot of folks are going home between the 2 semesters, if you don't want to go home, you don't have to. You can stay in your residence hall room, and we have staff in the buildings during those times as well. We offer a number of unique programs, some of which I'll be talking about a little bit with the living learning communities, but also we have our hall councils, our residence hall association, our first year leadership organizations like Suit Up, the first year leadership, Emerging Leaders program, and the First Year Activities Board are some of the ones that we have housed in housing. And so there's lots of opportunity to develop leadership and to explore some passions and things like that inside the residence halls. We also partner with a lot of community organizations and a lot of campus organizations as well. There's tons of organizations on campus, and we want to make sure that all our students are getting involved in the things that they want to be involved in. We provide a lot of collaborative spaces within our LLCs, living learning communities, and outside of that as well. Places for you to study, places for you to have class, places for you to hang out, so you can get to know folks and get to know more about campus and get to know about the things that you're studying here on campus. So those are some of the things that we do have in housing. For folks who are interested in what our housing is like, here's a picture of a room on campus. So we have about 22 different halls that first year students can live in on both East and West campus. Campus is divided into 4 quadrants, East, West, and then there is the graduate and family housing, and then the North Avenue apartments. And so on East and West campus are traditional halls, and so the room you see there is about what every room looks like on campus for first year students. So our buildings were built between the 1920s and the 1960s for our first year students, but they've been renovated a number of times. They all include heating and air conditioning. They all have wired and wireless internet. And, so all that is included in the price of your rents for campus. So we also provide you the furniture you see in the room. You'll see there's a bed there. These students have chosen to keep them. Most students do. That's why we start them up high. The mattress flips over. There's a firm side and a soft side. There's a bed rail. And you can lower the beds, you can bunk the beds, and so you have some ability to do that to make the room a little more manageable for whatever you're looking for. You see there's a desk there with a desk chair, there's a chest of drawers, there's a wardrobe, there are blinds on the windows, and there is a trash can and a recycling bin. And so all that furniture is provided and must stay in the room as well during the school year. And so you can move it around however you want in the space, but it has to stay in the room. You can also add to that as well. Some students choose to add a futon, a sofa, something like that. So they bring their own chairs. As long as the other furniture that we provided is staying in there, you can kind of arrange it however you want to fit whatever you'd like to in the room. People bring small refrigerators. They bring microwaves, obviously, as well. You don't have to. They'll bring TVs. Obviously, we'll bring your computer. So you can bring all those type of things as well. Some folks show up with like a suitcase. Some folks show up with a couple carloads full of stuff as well. So it just depends on what you want to bring. We provide you the basics though. There is a list on our website, which is housing.gatech.edu, and that'll show up in a little while on the slides, where you can check out 360-degree room tours for an example room in each building. It also gives you lists of things to bring, things you can't bring. For instance, you can't bring pressure cookers like Instant Pots. You can't bring things with open heating elements like hot plates or toaster ovens. Those are not allowed in the residence halls. But there's a whole list of things you can and can't bring to add to your room, and we're always happy to answer questions about that as well before you move in. Once again, the kitchens and the bathrooms are down the hall in these spaces, and if you're part of a living learning community, you will be living in a traditional hall as part of the first year experience, those students who are living in living learning communities are part of the FE, just to let you know. And so we'll talk about how that works in just a few minutes. So we have other amenities to chat about as well. I've already mentioned we have kitchens and we have obviously bathrooms in every space. So you have easy access to those. There are also activity rooms, study spaces in every single building. There are exercise rooms scattered throughout campus that residential students have access to. There are also print stations. There are laundry rooms. Laundry is included in the price of your rent. So you'll be able to go to a laundry room on campus and your laundry whenever you need to. It does not cost any additional money. And so those are also provided kind of scattered throughout campus with easy access to most buildings, all buildings actually. There's also print stations as well. So a lot of people choose not to bring their own printers. And so we have print stations throughout the residence halls as well so that you can print out reports and things that you might need as well. And it's just part of the campus print center. So you have a certain number a week that you can use. And so those are also located in the residence hall. If you have questions about any of our, excuse me, or something there. Let me start this back up. Nope. There we go. If you have any questions about amenities, happy to answer them for you if you have those questions in the Q&A. Let's see. So we talked a little bit about dining. If you choose to live with us on campus, you are required to have a meal plan as a first-year student. And so there are 3 all-you-can-eat dining halls on campus, 2 on East Campus and 1 on West Campus. West Village, or Willage is what a lot of students call it, is on West Campus. And on East, we have Britton and North Avenue Dining Hall. And so those are, the first one's open around 7 a.m., the last one closes around 1 a.m., and there are 4 meal swipes per day. There's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and late night. And so for each of those time periods per day, you have 1 swipe in to go in and eat as much food as you want. You can also use meal swipes at some other locations on campus to build a combo. All this information is at dining.gatech.edu, and you can see menus, and you can see what restaurants are around campus and sort of how your meal plan works in those spaces. Our dining options, we have 2 meal plans that you can choose from. There's a weekday plan, a Monday through Friday plan, and then there's also a 7-day plan, so all days of the week. And there's additional monies that are included on your meal plan called dining dollars and buzz funds. Dining dollars can be used in restaurants on campus to buy additional food or to maybe get a meal for a family member, or if you have a weekday plan or around on the weekend and need to buy a meal, you can use dining dollars for that. So that's how those are used. Buzz funds are dollars that you can use. It's like a declining debit card, and you can use those in vending machines, at print stations. If you've run out of your weekly allowance, you can use them in some stores on campus, and actually some places just off campus as well that take Buzz Card. So that's a little bit of information about the meal plan. Once again, it is required of all first-year students who are living on campus. They have nutritionists on campus who can help you plan meals if you're concerned about nutrition. All of our food is labeled. We have vegetarian, vegan, halal, kosher options across campus, and those menus are also online. I urge you to check those out as well. So let's chat a little bit about learning communities. So learning communities are a part of living on campus. About 40% of our first-year students participate in learning communities. Living learning communities, we often call them, because you live in the residence halls, and these different programs are sponsored by different offices on campus, usually academic offices. And basically, it helps you build a cohort of folks who have a similar passions or areas of interest that you might have. You apply for these programs, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There's an additional fee for these programs because they do have some programmatic aspects and some other benefits that do cost money, but are a great way to build a cohort of folks and to really explore some interest. And we'll talk about what the specific ones are in just a few minutes. Students who participate in living learning communities share an academic and campus life experience participating in courses and co-curricular activities together. There's generally 1 or 2 courses that students will take during their time and there's usually a product or some sort of deliverable at the end of the living learning community experience that folks will be participating in. Living learning communities start in the first year, and a lot of them continue on into second and third year. So there's usually those cohorts will move on to the apartments on campus and can choose to live together if they would like. Lots of social and other educational opportunities that happen specifically in those living learning communities. stuff for, so if we're going to Atlanta United matches, to having professors do talks, over lunch, things like that happen in Living Learning Community. So let's talk a little bit about what they are. So we have 7 of them that first year students can participate in. And I'm going to bounce around here a little bit because some of them happen at different times of the year. For instance, Ignite. That is the summer program that we have, and Ignite kicks off folks in their Georgia Tech experience the summer before the academic year begins for most first-year students. So we have a couple hundred students per year, actually up to like 500 and 600 students per year who could participate in Ignite. And so it gives you the opportunity to go through some different, there's some different tracks that you can participate in, like leadership and sustainability. And some programs like architecture have specific work that you can do during the summer before classes start. Usually starts in mid-June, that you would move to campus, live in the residence halls, or you can actually live at home too, or live in the Atlanta area and commute into school if you would like during that time. And going to get a leg up on the college experience before the fall starts. That is Ignite. Ignite is a program, everyone who comes in the summer is part of that Living Learning Community. It's just our summer program. And so anyone can participate in Ignite, can also participate in any of the other 6 first year learning communities. However, the other 6, you can only choose one. If you want to apply for as many as you want and see which ones you're accepted to, and then you can decide which one you want to be in, that's perfectly fine, but you'd only be in one of the other 6 Living Learning Communities. And so I will start with FYFA, which is First Year Fall Abroad. That is a program where you actually start school. Your fall semester would be abroad in either our campus in Lorraine, France, in Metz, it's GT Lorraine, or at Oxford College in the United Kingdom. You start out actually at Georgia Tech the summer before. In a couple weeks, you have some intro classes here, some prep work that you do before you go overseas. You have a cohort that will be together in either Oxford or Metz, and you will spend that first semester abroad. You will come back to Georgia Tech in spring semester of your first year, and you'll have to apply for housing if you want to live with us here, but we do our very best to get folks into housing on campus who choose to live with us for spring semester. The other Living Learning Communities are all sponsored by academic programs, and I will briefly talk about these. You can check out their website, learningcommunities.gatech.edu, to give you tons more information about these and can answer some really fantastic questions for you on this. And so, but I'll give you kind of just so you know what each of these are about. Explore is through the College of Sciences. It is for students who are doing like pre-medicine, pre-med work, looking to do undergraduate research. So College of Sciences is who sponsors that, and they really focus on sort of prep work for pre-med and research. The honors program is not we don't have an honors college, but we do have an honors program. And it is a sort of multidisciplinary opportunity for students who really want to kind of expand their knowledge base and really have good conversations and sort of the art of thinking and communicating and things like that. So typical of what other honors programs are around the country, but here at Georgia Tech, every student could be in an honors program. And so ours just sort of run a little bit differently, and it gives people, as a living learning community. And so just gives you the opportunity to really explore what it means to be a learner and how to really think multidisciplinarily, I guess is the way you say that. Impact is through our Office of Minority Educational Development, and it's a program that looks at social justice and sustainability and sort of community and how that all comes together and how you work together to make the world a better place. Making the world a better place is something that Georgia Tech thinks about a lot. Progress and service is our motto. And so a lot of these have sort of that as a mission as well. You'll hear that again and again. Global Leadership is Office of International Education works with that program among some other schools on campus. And it's a great opportunity to think globally about issues that are facing the world and how culture and how politics and all sorts of things that the world offers, how we work together to solve those problems and make the world a better place. There's a project that folks work on together to sort of present out to the community as well. Grand Challenges is through the College of Engineering, and it's open to all majors, and it really looks at how you, as a group, you pick small cohorts within the larger cohort to look at one singular problem that is facing a challenge that's facing the world, and how using the different expertise areas that different people are bringing together can solve those challenges. And so there's some presentations that are involved with that. Some travel sometimes is involved with that as well. Great opportunity to really think and to use what you're learning at Georgia Tech to sort of solve problems that the world is facing. So lots more information at learningcommunities.gatech.edu about those different programs. I see, Carrie, you've joined. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Thanks, Brett. I'll just say that I just see a couple of questions that have popped in, and I'll answer these in the chat as well in the Q&A section, and I'll get to them. A lot of the questions about second year and transfer students. So we have WIST and iHouse, Women's Science and Technology, and the International House for our transfer students and anybody who's at least a rising second year and above. But all of the living learning communities that Brett just mentioned are first year. You have to enter as a first year student. So you can continue with them, but you must start as a first year. So I hope that answers that question. But yeah, you can definitely hop over to our website, learningcommunities.gatech.edu, and get more information about each of the individual communities, as well as WIST and iHouse. There's information there as well. And remember that the application will open mid-January. So after the second wave of early action students are admitted, then you can start applying for living learning communities.
Thank you. And speaking of applying, I think the next slide is how you get a learning community. So would you like to chat about that?
Sure. So you will apply to the living learning communities through your admission portal. So the same way that you applied to Georgia Tech, once you're admitted, you'll get that, you'll get a letter saying you're admitted, and then there'll be all of these things that they'll ask you to do. And on the right-hand side, there'll be all these links, and one of them is Ignite. So that's your summer program option. And then the living learning communities is another portal, and that's where you'll actually apply. So you'll answer a couple of questions about your interest, depending on the community that you select. And then you can also apply there for the first year semester abroad program. So remember that you can only participate in one community, so you'll preference your choices. You can apply for them all, but you would need to ultimately select just one. But you can also just choose to apply to one if you. And like I said, the application will open up in mid-January. It's usually around MLK. We'll open that application, and you can start applying then, and then that will stay open. We actually will stay open till we're full, but we'll start actually inviting students to join in early April. So just after financial aid packages are announced, start receiving your invitations to join Living Learning Community. And then you'll be asked to let us know as soon as possible. But definitely once you have, you can't accept your invitation until you actually apply for housing. So once you decide you want to come to Tech, and you apply to live with us, and then you can accept your Living Learning Community invitation. And so, students can do that all throughout. Once they've been admitted, they can do all of those things. But you'll get invitations, like I said, in early April.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
So let me get this to extend to the next slide. There we go. So I've not talked about applying for housing yet. And Carrie, please step in if I get any. I know things have changed a little bit recently, so I'm going to give the information I know I have. And so please correct me if I'm wrong. Housing applications will open up also probably around mid-January. So once you have been admitted to Georgia Tech and you commit to Georgia Tech, a portal will open up to you to apply for housing. You will need to fill out your application and pay a $600 deposit. And once you've done that, you'll get a response back from us that says basically, thank you, you have applied for housing. You'll hear from us again soon. And make sure that you've added our email address to your approved email list, because we don't want to go into your spam folder, because there's lots of information that will start coming as we get closer into spring, and then definitely into summer for picking rooms and things like that. So we base our housing on priority. So the very first person who applies for housing pays their deposit, fills out the application, will have the very first dibs on picking a space on campus. And so we do not place you in rooms. So we don't take room preferences or roommate preferences or anything like that. We let you tell us what you want. So based on your priority. So I'll talk about roommates in a second, but so in the summer, in June, we open up the process to do roommate selection. If you want to do that, you do not have to select a roommate. If you'd like to go through the process just sort of on your own, you are definitely welcome to do that. But in July, we open the process for room selection based on priority once again. And if you're one of the first folks that applied, you will have the ability to pick any room that is available to you on campus. So for first year students, that's our traditional halls and our suite style halls. And so a suite style hall is a little bit different than a traditional hall in that you share a bathroom with one other room. Just that's basically what a suite is. And you place yourself in those spaces, and then other folks will start filling in the spaces around you. And as rooms and buildings go offline, we take those off the list of places where you can place yourself into. So once again, the earlier you apply, the more spaces you have to choose from. The later you apply, buildings will be offline, maybe, so you'll need to make sure that you've done a little research and get an idea of places that you want to live. Our website has a lot of great tools for that. You can see floor plans, you can see photos, you can read about the amenities in the different spaces. So I encourage you to check that out, and that's housing.gatech.edu. You also social media and other places like that. There's some information there as well. If you want to have a roommate go through the process with you, that's fine too. If you know someone who's coming to Georgia Tech, during our roommate process in June before school starts, you would put their name on your application, and they would put your name on their application. And as long as you both put each other's names on each other's applications, you'll go through the process together. Whoever has the highest priority number, whoever applied first, would take both people through the process. We also open up, as I mentioned earlier, our roommate process in June. So if you're looking for a roommate, you can read some information about other folks looking for roommates and reach out to them, chat with them, and see if it might be someone you want to share a space with. Once again, though, you do not have to go through the process with a roommate. Sometimes many people go through the process just potluck. They just put themselves in a room and someone else puts themselves in the room with them, and then you're roommates, and you'll have each other's contact information, and then you can start talking and making plans for the space. It's important to know that if you're in a living learning community, you have to live in the living learning community building, and any roommates you select would also have to be part of the same living learning community. So that information is pretty clear as well, and your living learning community, as you're selected for them, will give you more information about that. Carrie, is there anything important that I missed in that?
No, I would just say that's one really good reason to go ahead and get your application in early for a living learning community that you want to be in, so that you can determine and learn who else has been invited and accepted their learning community application, so you can meet those folks if you really want to select your roommate. But it is important to know that those students often, you will live with the living learning community in that building, self-assigned before the general population. So you'll want to get all of your ducks in a row as far as who's gonna be your roommate if you're interested in that. So you'll know that they're part of the community too. And if you meet somebody and they haven't applied, I would encourage you to encourage them to apply to the community that you're most interested in too, so you have a better shot of being able to live with those students. And definitely pay attention to those emails. We'll be emailing your personal emails, the ones that you put on your application, because we know you won't be able to get to that Georgia Tech email. And also, if you're coming for summer, you'll be able to apply for summer and fall at the same time. So you'll be able to apply for summer housing and fall housing all together, but it's two separate applications. So you want to be sure you do them both, so we know that you want housing for both places. Or for both time periods, because you'll go through those same processes twice, right? You'll have to do it for summer, and then you'll do it for fall as well. So we want to make sure you understand that you don't have to pay twice. You only pay for one prepayment, only one deposit, but you do need to apply to both. That's all I have for that, Brett.
I will just add, as I mentioned earlier, it's really important. We do not guarantee housing. We will generally open with a wait list. And so the earlier you apply, the better options you will have and to get into a space. Some people will often ask, like, when's the latest I can apply? We can't give you a specific time because it just kind of depends on who's interested in coming to Georgia Tech. We house a specific number of folks, and we're figuring those numbers out now based on what admissions is telling us who's coming in. And we do our very best to house as many first-year students as possible. But when we run out of space, we have run out of space and we cannot make more spaces. So just to let you know, we will start a wait list at some point during the summer, and you will be alerted if you are on the wait list, and we will work with you on that as we do our very best to start honoring the wait list. And we do get people in off the wait list, but not always everyone. So just to let you know. So I'm going to turn off the video here so you can see my face here. Let me stop sharing that. And there's Carrie as well. I see you now. Good to see you. When you're presenting, you just see your Excel spreadsheet and your PowerPoint. And so here I am. But let's see. Let's go through some questions here. So let's see. This first question here is, can you join? Oh my gosh, they're flying past. So someone is going to be transferring to GT for the spring semester. Could you speak a little bit about on-campus housing for transfers? When will moving be for spring semester? Thank you. Carrie, do you want to take that one? Carrie, you're on mute.
Okay, I'm sorry. So transfer students who are admitted for spring, as soon as they're admitted, they can start applying for housing. The housing application is currently open, and students can apply now. And then they'll be able to move in January 7th. And we do have space available for the spring, and encourage you to apply if you've been admitted for the spring.
And for our transfer students, generally that is in suite style and apartment style spaces. So just to let you know, correct?
Yes, definitely. Mostly apartment right now. Brett, I'm publishing them. So if you look at the publish tab instead of the incoming, you'll see.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I'm transferring in, then can I join a living learning community? That is correct. If you're transferring in, you have, if you're coming in spring semester, all our living learning programs currently start in the fall. So they have already begun the process. So that is not something you could do. There are lots of other things that are going on campus, lots of organizations, lots of opportunities within departments to have great experiences as well. Living learning communities are not one of those. And so there are not spaces that you could move into at this point.
Unless there's space in WISP. Sometimes we do have space open up in the spring for women and folks who identify as female in women's science and technology. So we encourage you to, and the information on how to apply is in the actual housing application.
The next question that's published says, can transfer students live on campus the same way as first years? I'm not exactly sure I know what that means, but we do have spaces for first year students. Transfer students. They're generally in apartments, so it's a different type of housing. You have a single bedroom, and you share bathroom and kitchen and living room space but usually we're about 3 other students. So there's 4 and 6 person apartments that you would live in. But yes, we do have space for transfer students, and they have RAs and all that type of stuff. So there is a living opportunity for our transfer students as well. Next question I see here is there an additional fee for the FE learning community choices? Yes, so there is a fee, and I see that an answer just popped in. Was that from you, Carrie?
Yeah.
Great. And so what is the fee? I'm sorry, I know I haven't.
$400 a semester.
$400 a semester. Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Around what time of the year is housing full? I wish I could give you an answer. I would say for folks who have applied by May, we've generally not had problems in the past meeting that housing requirement. That can change depending on how many folks apply. When we run out of space, we run out of space. But generally by May, we can still offer housing. I would say is kind of a guideline to sort of, that's generally when other schools are asking for you to have your kind of final decisions made. And so that's after that point, things can sometimes become challenging for getting housing. But I can't give you a definite answer because it kind of changes each year. Let's see. What is a good learning community for a computer science major? Carrie?
I would say all of our communities accept students from any major, and the only one that I would say might be less of an interest would be Explore, which is focused on College of Sciences and students who are really focused on either pre-health or research. I mean, you could be a pre-health major and still do computer science. So if that's something you're interested in, then Explore would be a good option. But all of the others accept all majors and really encourage all majors. So any of them would be a great fit for, it's really more about what you're interested in doing with that computer science degree and where you're interested. So I would really encourage you to look at all of the learning communities, really try to figure out what it is that they're focused on and then apply to the ones that interest you.
Thank you. The next question is housing close to where classes are held? So for first year students particularly, speaking to the first year students now, you will mostly have your core classes in the central part of Georgia Tech's campus. And so the residence halls sort of ring that area, and then off campus is outside of that as well. All of our residence halls are on the bus lines for campus that take you to other points across campus, including the Midnight Rambler, which is a bus service that runs from the residence halls to the dining halls to the library at night, so folks can get around specifically on campus. So yes, housing is close. Campus, me, I'm a 50-year-old man, I can walk across campus in 20 minutes. Campus is not huge. It's not small, but it's not huge. So even if you need to walk across campus, you can get from east to west campus in about 20 minutes, and the central part of campus is where most classes are held. Are transfer students required to get a meal plan if they choose to live on campus? Generally, no, unless only first years are required to have a meal plan for us. Are there additional costs associated with the living learning community first year fall abroad versus traditional housing? So living learning communities, yes. And Carrie, do you want to talk about first year fall abroad?
Yeah, so this year or next year, students will be going to both GTL, so Georgia Tech Lorraine, as well as Oxford, and there is a program fee for those programs. I know GTL this year was just over $6,000 for the fall abroad program, and I expect Oxford to be similar, although you'd need to check out the website to really get a handle on all those fees. But there is a program fee associated with that.
Carrie, I know you've already mentioned this, but once again, when do you apply for the living learning community?
Around January 15th, that application will open.
Okay, and we've already spoken to this too, but I'll just remind folks, if you're a transfer student coming in for the spring, WIST is really the only living learning community, which is Women in Science and Technology, that may have openings. And so check out the website for that to see if there are spaces available. But for most of our living learning communities, they are full and they do not take folks in spring semester. And so WIST is for our upper class students, so for non-freshmen generally as well, just as so this next question was basically the same question, so I will not ask it again. So the next question is, are any of the dorms more or less expensive than others? If so, what do you get for the extra money? For our first year traditional halls, most of them are, actually all of them are the same price. We have a few rooms that are quads, so 4 people in a room versus 2. And so those rooms will be a little less expensive just because you're sharing the space with more people. All the rooms are those quads are twice the size as general 2-person rooms, just to let you know. Our suite style halls, because you have a bathroom that you share with one other room, are a little bit more expensive, and our apartments are a little more expensive than that as well. If you go to our website, there's a rates section, and you can see the prices of our building, of the spaces based on 2 to 4 person for traditional halls, for our suites, and for our apartments, various types of apartments as well. So check out the website, housing.gatech.edu, and look for the rates section, and it will give lots of information about how much things are going to cost. I think we've answered this as well, but I will just remind you that transfers generally live in apartments, and move-in is going to be on January 7th for the spring. And lots of information on our website will be specifically around move-in. So check the housing website, because it will give you explicit instructions on what move-in is like and what you need to do before you get here. But our transfer students who are living on campus will generally be living in apartment-style housing. Let's see. That was the end of the questions that have been published. Carrie, were there any others that we need to get to?
Yes. So I think I just published a slew more.
Okay, let me go to the top. I do not see any new ones. Hold on, Sorry, can you ask them, and I will see.
So transferring in the spring, do I have to submit my final transcript before I apply for housing, or can I apply now? So I can answer this one, and I did in the chat. You need to be admitted to Georgia Tech and have paid your enrollment fee, and then you can apply for housing. So whatever regulations are around the final transcript. As long as you're admitted and have paid your enrollment deposit, then you can apply for housing. And then transfer students who join in the summer have what type of housing options?
Transfer students in the summer would also have apartments available to them. And so we have a suite style and apartments available to summer residents generally, most years, but we will publish our summer buildings very soon. But generally it is apartment style spaces that are available for transfer students in the summer.
My friend and I
go ahead. No, please go ahead.
are both transferring to Georgia Tech, and we would like to live in an on-campus apartment together. Are any of the apartments co-ed inside of an individual apartment?
Generally, no. So however, we do have gender inclusive housing, and so if our website has some information about that, look for the link on that, and it will tell you more information about that. But generally, our spaces are single sex inside the apartments, although our buildings are generally co-ed across the board. We do in our first year areas have a couple buildings that are single sex, but most are co-ed.
Are you able to live on campus for a full 4 years?
Yes, if you apply, is that right? You made a face, so I'm like, am I wrong?
Well,
Is that changing?
Typically, yes. We are seeing an increase in enrollments that for the next few years could force some students to need to find off-campus housing for a short period of time. We try to, but there is no guarantee, and certainly want to house the students, the students who we feel like really need to be on campus the most, which would be our youngest students. So as enrollment increases for both, and our new students, so as our new transfers, new grads, and first year students increase, then our upper class students may need to find off-campus housing, at least until we can build more housing. So
yeah, just to let everyone know, we house around 8,500 students on campus right now, and there are plans hopefully in the near future to meet demand. So Carrie, we actually almost had the same answer, so I feel good. Like, we do our best, but it doesn't always work out for our class students. So
Yep.
What's next?
If you want to do the Ignite program, when do you apply, and do you automatically apply for that learning community? So I can answer this one. For Ignite, if you're admitted for summer, you're automatically a part of the Ignite program. If you want to choose to come in the summer, then you're automatically a part of the Ignite program. So as soon as you're admitted to Georgia Tech, you can apply for Ignite. Ignite equals coming in the summer. So everybody who comes for the summer will be a part of Ignite. And yeah, as soon as you're admitted, you can apply. What is FE?
So, as I started at the beginning talking about it back in 1992, when we realized our retention rate wasn't quite as high, and I talked about the RAs and living together as first year students, that's basically what the FE is. The first year experience is a way for our students to develop community and to be more socially and academically connected to Georgia Tech to find success here. So we want students to be successful at Georgia Tech. Every student who's admitted to Georgia Tech should be able to succeed here. This is a challenging, rigorous, sometimes environment, and we want to make sure that students are feeling connected in all possible ways and know the resources on campus. So the FE is basically designed to help you feel that connection.
Where do most transfer students end up living? Is it more common to live on campus or off?
I think recently, the transfer students who have applied, and correct me if I'm wrong, have generally, who wanted to live with us on campus, we've been able to house them on campus. As was mentioned a few minutes ago, one of our commitments is to students new to Georgia Tech. So for students who choose to live on campus, we do our very best to house those students. Now, there's a lot of off-campus housing as well, and some students want to live off campus. And so that, once again, we do not require any students to live on campus. We don't guarantee students to live on campus, but we do our best to meet the needs of the folks who want to live with us. And so that's specific for first year transfer and new grads. They are the folks that we do our very best to make sure they have a space on campus.
Do in-state scholarships like Hope and Zell cover housing?
Yes. They don't. They don't. I'm sorry.
Oh, Hope and Zell don't. They only cover tuition.
Okay. But if you have other scholarships that, like full ride scholarships that provide that, so yes, I apologize for not knowing the answer exactly on that. But if you have scholarships that are more than tuition, they will cover housing and dining on.
Yep.
Thanks,
Is,
Carrie. Keeping me on my toes.
yeah. Is there learning community during the school year? So I think what you're asking is the difference between Ignite. So there's only one program in the summer, and that's Ignite. And then the other programs are all during this actual school year, so the fall and spring semester only. And then I was wondering if there were any situations which you would not be required to have a roommate. And so the only time that students are allowed to not have a roommate is if they are registered with the Office of Disability Services and they have a medical or other reason that they need to live alone. And the Office of Disability Services recommends all housing accommodations. We don't guarantee them, but we will try to provide all reasonable accommodations for students, but you do have to register with the Office of Disability Services in order to receive any kind of accommodation like living alone. So you can, but you would need to register with them.
I would highly encourage folks who need to register with that office to do that as early as possible in the process, because there's a lot of other documentation you need to provide, and they need to work with you to do that and also give us the information. And as we start to fill housing, when those spaces go away, they are gone and we can't get them back. So if it's something that is a medical need or another need that would qualify through the Office of Disability Services, you would need to do that as early as possible.
Are LLCs a 4-year commitment or a 1-year commitment? For example, could I participate in Grand Challenges as a first year and WIST as a sophomore? So the answer is yes to all of them. You can participate in Grand Challenges all 4 years and all of the other LLCs as well. Your first year is the required living commitment and the time you pay the fee. But after that, you can participate in a variety of different ways. You can choose to live together in upper class apartments with your block of other learning community students, but there's no fee to do that. It's a perk of the program. But you are required to participate in certain ways with the community. And each community has set out their requirements for that. You can also participate in Grand Challenges your first year and then do WIST after that. So definitely we have many students who choose to do that. And so it's really any of the first year learning communities, you could then participate in either WIST or iHouse as an upper class student. Those are the only ones you can move into after your first year, but you definitely have that as an option. For a person transferring into tech for the first time in spring, pricing work. You can check our website for the spring contract and it'll show you the terms for that semester. So you would just pay for the spring semester when you move in the spring. And then you would, from that point forward, you would have housing contracts for either the summer or the academic year. But for that first spring, you would just pay for the spring. So if accepted in January and financial aid package comes in April, which may determine the decision, do most kids apply for housing after that? Actually, we haven't found that is that's the case necessarily. Students who decide they want to come to tech and want to live on campus, regardless of their financial aid package, will often go ahead and apply as soon as they're admitted and they decide and they pay that enrollment fee. I can't give you an exact percentage, but we do have many students who apply well before the financial aid package comes out and many who wait until after that point, right? We do see a uptick. Obviously, there's a big, push for applications after those financial aid packages because you're getting packages from other schools and you're making decisions about where you're going to go to school, and we recognize that. So you definitely will still be able to get housing in April, but many students will make the choice that they are coming to tech regardless and will go ahead and apply at that point.
Also, I'll just add on our website, there's also information about if you apply, you pay the $600 deposit. If you choose not to come to tech, there is a sliding scale of getting some of that money back. I would encourage you to check that out as you're making decisions about Georgia Tech, because there is some money that can come back to you based on when you pull out of the contract with us as well. So just know that information is on our website.
Is the $6,000 for Explore LLC for both fall and spring semester? That's just for first year fall abroad. Explore is $400 per semester, and it is fall and spring. So let me say that again. Explore and all of the other first year LLCs are $400 a semester, and it is fall and spring. The $6,000 is the first year fall abroad, when you actually go out of the country, either France or Europe, or I'm sorry, France or Oxford for your first semester. And that's the program fee for those programs. Are you required to be a full-time student in the summer to participate in Ignite? Ignite students take at the most 7 credit hours, so they take between 6 and 7 credit hours, and that is considered full-time. It's only a 6-week program. You start in late June or mid-June and go through the 1st of August. So you are considered a full-time student, but it's a little bit different because it's what's called the late short semester for summer. It's only 6 weeks, so 6 hours.
So Carrie, we have about 10 minutes left.
All right. Can transfer students live in North Avenue Apartments fall 2022?
Probably. Yes. I would assume so. It's an apartment, and that's where transfer students tend to live, our apartments. So that seems like a possibility. Yes.
Yes, it's definitely possible. There's no reason why you couldn't. It's just a matter of, can you get your application in time to be able to select that?
Correct.
If you want to do the Ignite program, when do you apply? Oh, I already asked that question. Sorry.
I'm looking at a few here too. There's one that I'm going to publish in just a second. I'm going to answer it first. Hold on, where is it? I saw it. It was a good one. Is there a virtual tour of the residential halls to know what facilities are available, room space, etc.? I really encourage you to check our website, housing.gatech.edu. There are actually lots of photos, and there are room tours of one specific room in each building, so you can see kind of the idea of what a student decorated room looks like in each of those. But there are floor plans, there's lots of information, and so you'll be able to really explore all the different residence halls on campus through our website, including cost and amenities and all that sort of stuff. So that is all on our website, so definitely check that out. Another question here is, how easy is it to find apartments in the Atlanta area? This is a really large city. You know, there's 7 million people in the metro area. So there is a lot of housing. Housing close to campus. Midtown is where we're located in Atlanta, is a very expensive area, expensive part of town. There is off-campus student housing that is privately run that is available. However, I know this year it filled up pretty quickly. And so there was not a ton of space close to campus, and so some folks had to move a little further out into town. What I would encourage you to do is, if you're not from the area, if you're choosing not to live on campus, just really do some research about the neighborhood, the area, part of town you'll be living in. There's some really inexpensive places in Atlanta, but in parts of town that you probably wouldn't want to live in, that aren't easy to get into campus, that aren't as safe as other parts. And so just do a little research and before you sign any leases and pay any money. But there are apartments available across town. Midtown is an expensive area of town, although there is a lot of student housing, but it tends to fill up pretty quickly. Were there any other questions, Carrie, that have come up that we need to get to before our time runs out?
Can first-year students bring a car? Are there parking?
Yes, absolutely. Car, you can definitely pay to park on campus. Parking on campus is how much is it per year? I don't park on campus. Is it $795 for the year? Is that right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's $800 a year to bring a car onto campus, to have a parking space on campus. It's not a space that would be specifically yours. $800 gives you the opportunity to look for a space on campus in a specific area. Parking.gatech.edu is the website. And once you, that would open up the summer before you start school, you'd be able to find parking. If you're coming in the spring, you would already have the ability to go ahead and purchase a parking permit. If you're coming in the spring, it'll be a prorated plan that you would pay. So you would pay the full $800. But all that information is at parking. But yes, first year students are allowed to bring cars onto campus.
if I'm transferring next fall, but the people I want to room with already attend tech, can they reserve me a spot if we're getting an on-campus apartment if they're able to register earlier than me?
That seems like a no.
Yeah, no, not really. You have to be admitted for them to be able to see you. You have to be admitted and have applied to housing. So it just depends on the timeline of when you're able to actually apply. You can't apply until you're admitted and pay that enrollment fee. So it's unlikely. Fall is going to be the toughest time. So it sounds like I saw a lot of questions about transferring in the fall. That is going to be the hardest time for anyone to get housing, particularly transfer students, because of the timeline, right? You aren't even admitted until summer. Now we are, like we said, really trying our very best to make sure we have space for our transfer students. But we can't guarantee housing, and we can only hold so many spaces, right? And so we're doing our very best to make sure that we hold space for you because of the timeline, and we know how difficult that is. Just impossible for us to promise everybody will have a space when our housing is already so limited. So my advice is apply it just the minute that you know you're coming to tech. Apply for housing if you want to live here, and then don't be discouraged if you end up on the wait list for a little while. We usually start the wait list, and lots of things change before school starts, and we are able to get many students off the wait list and into housing for fall. But also have a backup plan because fall is tough, and you may need to live somewhere for the fall and then get on campus in the spring semester. So if you don't get on campus in the fall, definitely reapply. The application opens in October, late October. We just opened it this last month for spring, and we have a lot of students graduate in December, and we have space open up. And so it's very likely that you would be able to get in January if you can't get in the fall. So my advice is apply as soon as you possibly know, as you can, as soon as you know you're coming.
So Carrie, we have like 4 minutes left. We'll answer one more question here. And the question, the one that came in was, what happens to students who rely entirely on college provided housing if there's no housing available? Like most public schools, we don't have housing for everyone. Very rarely does a college provide housing for all of its students. We have over 20,000 students on campus. We have 8,500 spaces for students to live in. So there's plenty of opportunities to live off campus if need be. We do our best, once again, to meet the needs of the students who want to live with us. A number of students choose not to live with us as the years go on, so space does open up. We don't have housing for everyone, but very few schools do. So, and we will work with you. You can talk with us, and if there's an extenuating circumstance, and we have some different offices on campus who can assist with housing and security and things like that. So there are resources on campus who can always be helpful depending on the situation. And so if you're living with us on campus and you have questions, just chat with us individually, and we can get you connected to the right resource. So, with 2 minutes left, Carrie, any final thoughts?
No, we did have one question about couldn't find the deposit deadline for spring 22. We don't have a deadline for applying for housing ever. It's really, we just keep accepting applications until we're full, right? We accept applications, and then we accept applications for the wait list. So if you can still apply, then you'll be able to do that when you go into the application process. And if you can't, you'll see that you're applying for the wait list. So you just need to go ahead. We still have space available for spring right now. I can tell you that as of 4 hours ago. So you should be good if you're still looking for spring housing.
And so, yeah, and I will say, I know we haven't answered all of your questions. I see a few more have come in. Information at housing.gatech.edu, which was the last slide there in our slideshow. But if you go to our website, housing.gatech.edu, easy to find that link as well. Definitely reach out to us. We want to answer questions. We want to be as helpful as possible as you're figuring out housing on campus, and making sure that you make the transfer or the start of college at Georgia Tech as easy as possible. And we will do our very best to get information back to you very quickly. But definitely check out our website. Lots of information there. This has been recorded, and it will be kind of edited and show back up next week if you need to review it. But we wish you the very best as you're thinking about college and where you're going to live and where you're going to be. And if you're transferring in next semester, we look forward to seeing you. Stay healthy, stay well, and we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.